Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So far, we've covered everything alien Earth has thrown at us. The Oculus, the hybrids, corporate sabotage, you name it. But there's one creature that's been slithering under the radar. Literally. The one they call the bloodsucker. You know, this thing reminds me of some politicians. Quiet, sneaky, and really good at sucking the life out of everything. But jokes aside, this little nightmare is way more than it seems. It's not just some space leech. Nah, this thing, it's smart, patient, and it might just be one of the most clever little terrors we've ever seen in the alien universe. Let's break it down, and I mean really break it down. We're going deep on this one, exploring every aspect of this fascinating creature, from its biological makeup to its terrifying intelligence, and what it might mean for the future of the Alien franchise. First, let's talk about what we actually know about this creature's physical characteristics. The bloodsucker, designated as specimen T4 in the Maginot's logs, presents as a limbless, elongated organism, measuring approximately 30 to 40 centimeters in length. Its skin appears smooth and slightly translucent, revealing internal biological processes that hint at its parasitic nature. The most fascinating aspect of its physiology is what appears to be a simple sensory organ at its anterior end. Not quite an eye in the traditional sense, but something more akin to a light-sensitive patch that allows it to detect movement and shapes in its environment. What's particularly interesting is its method of locomotion. Unlike Earth-based parasites that might inch along surfaces, the bloodsucker demonstrates what can only be described as a graceful, almost liquid movement. It doesn't so much crawl as flow across surfaces, suggesting some fascinating biological adaptations that might include microscale undulations or even the ability to slightly alter its physical state to navigate different environments. But here's where it gets really fascinating: the creature's mouth parts. When we finally get a clear look at them during the autopsy scene, we see an intricate arrangement of microscopic hooks and tubes that suggest both feeding and egg-laying capabilities. This isn't just a simple sucker. It's a sophisticated biological toolkit that allows it to both feed on hosts and deposit its offspring with terrifying precision.
Now, let's talk about that infamous lab scene in detail, because there's so much more happening here than most viewers caught on first watch. The scene begins with Dr. Chibuzzo making her rounds through the Maginot's biocontainment lab. The camera work here is deliberate. Notice how it focuses on her hands as she checks various seals and readings. She's thorough, professional, but there's a sense of routine to her actions. She's done this hundreds of times before. Meanwhile, in its containment tube, the bloodsucker isn't just floating passively. If you watch closely, you can see it tracking her movement. Its anterior end consistently positions itself toward her as she moves through the lab. This isn't random behavior. This is active observation. The creature is studying its environment, learning patterns, and most importantly, learning about the being that controls its containment. The critical moment comes when Chibuzzo opens a neighboring container to feed one of the other specimens. The camera subtly focuses on the bloodsucker during this moment, and if you watch in slow motion, you can actually see it press against a specific point on its containment tube. The method isn't immediately obvious. It might be applying a precise chemical secretion to weaken the seal, or using specialized cells to manipulate the locking mechanism. This is where the creature's intelligence becomes apparent. It didn't just wait for an opportunity, it created one. It observed Chibuzzo's routine, learned how the containment systems worked, and executed a precise escape plan at the perfect moment when her attention was divided. But the real genius comes in what it does after escaping. It doesn't immediately go for a host. It doesn't attack Chibuzzo. Instead, it moves with deliberate purpose toward her water bottle. This suggests several frightening capabilities. First, it understands human biology enough to recognize hydration containers. Second, it can identify the perfect vector for its offspring. And third, it's playing the long game, rather than going for immediate gratification. The egg-laying process itself is worth examining in detail. The creature doesn't simply deposit eggs into the water. It uses its specialized mouthparts to carefully place them in a way that they won't be immediately visible. It understands transparency and visual detection. It's thinking several steps ahead, anticipating that the water might be examined before consumption.
Now, let's talk about what happens after Malachite drinks the contaminated water. The eggs don't immediately hatch. They wait until they've reached the optimal environment within his digestive system. This suggests either a biological timing mechanism or the ability to detect specific chemical signals that indicate they're in a suitable host. Once hatched, the juvenile bloodsuckers don't simply feed. They actively modify their host's biology. They appear to secrete compounds that transform Malachite's internal systems into a biological weapons factory. When medical staff attempt intervention, the result isn't just death. It's catastrophic biochemical dissolution. This isn't mere parasitism. This is sophisticated biological warfare. The implications of this creature's capabilities are staggering. Let's explore 3 major theories about its nature and origins. Theory 1. The ultimate evolved parasite. This creature may represent the pinnacle of parasitic evolution. On its homeworld, it might have evolved alongside highly intelligent host species, developing ever more sophisticated strategies to bypass their defenses. Its intelligence isn't cognitive in the human sense. It's specialized, honed through millions of years of evolutionary arms race. Every behavior we witness, the observation, the strategic escape, the choice of vector, could be hardwired through evolution rather than conscious thought. This makes it no less dangerous, but explains its highly specialized capabilities. Theory 2. Engineered biological weapon. The precision of the bloodsucker's methods suggests possible design rather than natural evolution. The way it targets specific systems, its ability to bypass containment, and its sophisticated delivery mechanism all point toward possible engineering. Could this be another creation of the engineers, designed as a terror weapon? Or perhaps it's a Weyland-Yutani creation that escaped control? The corporation's known obsession with biological weapons makes this a distinct possibility. Its methods are almost too perfect, too optimized for causing maximum chaos with minimal effort. Theory 3. Hive-Mind intelligence. What if the bloodsucker isn't acting alone? Its behavior might be directed by a larger intelligence. The creature could be serving as scout, infiltrator, or weapon for a collective consciousness we haven't encountered yet. This would explain its seemingly impossible strategic planning. It might be receiving guidance from elsewhere. The way it gathers information about human behavior and containment systems suggests it could be collecting data for a larger purpose. The philosophical implications of this creature are worth considering too. It represents a completely different form of intelligence than we're used to encountering in the alien universe. Unlike the Xenomorph's brute force predation or the Oculus's apparent strategic intelligence, the bloodsucker operates through subtlety, patience, and biological manipulation. It doesn't conquer through strength, but through exploitation of weaknesses. This brings us to an important question. How might this creature fit into the larger alien mythology? Its methods are distinctly different from anything we've seen before, yet thematically consistent with the franchise's exploration of biological horror. Where the Xenomorph represents the horror of body violation through physical force, the bloodsucker represents the horror of biological subversion. The idea that our own bodies can be turned against us in the most intimate ways possible. The creature's potential future role in alien Earth is particularly fascinating to consider. If any specimens survive the Maginot's crash, they could represent an ongoing threat that's completely different from the Xenomorphs. While everyone's watching for the classic acid-blooded monsters, the real danger might be creeping into water supplies, infecting people silently, and turning them into walking biological bombs. There's also the possibility that we haven't seen the bloodsucker's final form. What if the creatures that emerge from hosts are different from the initial parasite? There might be a life cycle we haven't witnessed yet, with different stages serving different purposes. This would make it even more dangerous and difficult to combat. The scientific realism behind such a creature is worth examining too. While obviously fictional, the bloodsucker touches on real-world biological principles. Parasites that manipulate host behavior exist in nature. Take Toxoplasma gondii making rats attracted to cats, or cordyceps fungi controlling ants' movements. The bloodsucker takes this concept to its ultimate extreme, suggesting what might be possible with more advanced biological systems. From a narrative perspective, the bloodsucker serves as a perfect metaphor for the insidious nature of the corporations in the alien universe. Just as the creature works silently, hidden from view, turning its host's biology against itself, so too do Weyland-Yutani and Prodigy work behind the scenes, turning human ambition and curiosity into weapons against humanity. The creature is the perfect biological representation of corporate greed, silent, patient, and ultimately destructive in its pursuit of its own goals. The design of the creature deserves appreciation too. The effects team created something that feels both familiar and utterly alien.
Its movements are unsettling in their fluidity. Its appearance just humanoid enough to trigger uncanny valley responses, but alien enough to maintain its otherness. The sound design too. The subtle squelching sounds it makes, the almost inaudible clicking of its movement, all contribute to making it deeply unsettling on a primal level. What's particularly effective about the bloodsucker as a horror element is how it subverts our sense of safety in routine. The Maginot's crew were professionals, following established protocols, yet the creature found ways to exploit the gaps in those protocols. It turns everyday objects, a water bottle, into vectors of terror. This makes it somehow more frightening than the more obvious threat of the Xenomorph, because it attacks our sense of security in the mundane. The creature also raises fascinating questions about the nature of intelligence itself. We tend to equate intelligence with human-like cognition, problem-solving, tool use, language. But the bloodsucker presents a completely different model of intelligence. Highly specialized, instinctual yet adaptive, focused on a narrow set of objectives but brilliant within those parameters. It makes us question what intelligence might look like evolving along completely different paths. As we look toward future episodes, the bloodsucker could play several possible roles. It might serve as a secondary antagonist, creating complications even as the crew deals with the larger Xenomorph threat. It could be the key to understanding a larger biological mystery. Perhaps its abilities are linked to the engineer's technology in ways we haven't yet discovered. Or it might even become an unlikely asset if its abilities can be understood and directed against other threats. The ethical implications of such a creature are worth considering too. If it could be controlled or understood, would using it be any different from the corporation's exploitation of the Xenomorphs? This gets to the heart of the Alien franchise's ongoing themes about the corruption that comes from seeking to weaponize nature. From a film studies perspective, the bloodsucker continues the Alien tradition of creating monsters that reflect contemporary anxieties. Where the original Xenomorph reflected fears about sexual violence and bodily penetration, The bloodsucker seems to tap into modern anxieties about contamination, invisible threats, and the vulnerability of our biological systems to manipulation. It's a monster for the age of pandemics and bioengineered threats. The creature's introduction also shows how the Alien franchise continues to innovate within its established framework. Rather than simply rehashing previous monsters, the creators have developed something that feels fresh, yet completely consistent with the universe's established rules of biological horror. It expands the world while deepening its thematic concerns. As we continue to analyze Alien Earth, the bloodsucker deserves more attention than it's received. It's not just a minor monster, it's a sophisticated addition to the Alien bestiary that offers new ways to explore the franchise's core themes. Its unique capabilities and methods open up new narrative possibilities, while staying true to the series' roots in biological horror. So the next time you watch Alien Earth, pay close attention to the bloodsucker. Watch how it moves, how it observes, how it plans. There's more to this creature than meets the eye, and I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of its terrifying capabilities. So what do you think? Is the bloodsucker just a nasty alien animal, or is it something smarter, something far more dangerous? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and maybe check your water bottle before you drink.